The red sun of Vex Prime casts long shadows across the battlefield as Commander Zek Thornspick watched his warriors finish off the last of the resistance. The mining colony had fallen in less than 3 hours, just like all the others. The soft-skinned aliens who called this place home had barely managed to fire their weapons before the Cathara forces overwhelmed them. Zek stood nearly 8 feet tall, his thick gray skin scarred from countless battles. His people had evolved on a world that tried to kill everything that lived on it. Every day on Vex Prime was a fight for survival. The gravity was 3 times stronger than most worlds. The air burned the lungs of weaker species. Acid storms could strip flesh from bone in minutes. The native creatures were all predators, each one designed by nature to hunt and kill. The Cathara had not just survived on their homeworld, they had thrived. They had become the ultimate predators, the strongest warriors in the known galaxy. For over 200 years they had spread across the stars, taking what they needed from worlds populated by creatures they saw as nothing more than clever animals. "Commander," called out Lieutenant Vex Ironhide, one of Zek's most trusted officers, "the locals are asking to surrender." Zek looked down at the small group of aliens huddled near their destroyed defense station. They were typical of most species in the galaxy. Thin bodies, pale skin, large eyes that showed too much fear. They had built their civilization around comfort and safety. They lived on worlds with gentle weather and friendly animals. They made tools to do their fighting for them because their own bodies were too weak. "Tell them they should have thought about surrender before they tried to shoot at us," Zek replied. His voice was deep and rough, like rocks grinding together. "Take what we came for and leave. This world is not worth keeping." The mining operation here produced rare metals that the Cathara needed for their ships. They could have traded for these materials, but trading was for equals. The Cathara took what they wanted because they were strong enough to take it. That was the way of the universe. The strong survived, and the weak served or died as his warriors. Loaded the stolen metals onto their transport ships, Zek walked through the colony's central building. The walls were covered with pictures of the aliens' families, their peaceful cities, their green gardens. It made him feel disgusted. These creatures had never known real struggle. They had never felt the fear of being hunted by something bigger and stronger. They had never had to fight just to see another sunrise on Vex Prime. Cathara children learned to fight before they learned to walk. By age 5, they could kill most of the smaller predators that roamed their world. By 10, they were hunting. In packs, taking down creatures the size of small buildings. By 15, they were ready to join the warrior fleets that traveled between the stars. The soft aliens of the galaxy did not understand this. They thought the Cathara were cruel and violent for no reason. They did not see that violence was simply the natural order of things. The universe was a hostile place filled with dangers that could not be reasoned with or bargained with. Only strength mattered. Only the ability to fight and win kept a species alive. Zek's communication device buzzed with an incoming message. He activated the hologram display and saw the face of Fleet Admiral Kex Bloodclaw, the supreme commander of all Cathara forces. "Report, Commander Thornspick." The Admiral's gravelly voice filled the room. "The mining colony has been secured, Admiral. We have taken all the metals we came for. Resistance was minimal, as expected. Good, I have new orders for you. Our scouts have discovered something interesting in the Outer Rim territories. There is a species we have not encountered before. They come from a small blue world called Earth." Zek felt a flicker of interest. It had been months since they had found a new species to conquer. Most of the galaxy had already been mapped and categorized. The strong races like the Cathara ruled from the top. The weak races served or hid on their safe little worlds. "What makes this species special, Admiral?" The scout who found them refused to land on their homeworld. He said the planet was too dangerous, even for us. He called it a death world worse than Vex Prime. This caught Zek's full attention. There were very few worlds in the galaxy that could challenge a Cathara warrior. Their own homeworld was considered one of the most hostile planets ever discovered. If there was another world that was even more dangerous, the creatures living on it might actually be worth fighting. What do we know about these humans? Zek asked. Very little. They have spread to several star systems near their homeworld. They have advanced technology and seem to be expanding rapidly. The scout managed to capture some of their communications, but could not make sense of most of it. What he did understand suggested that these humans have been fighting wars among themselves for thousands of years. Zek smiled, showing his sharp teeth. A species that fought constantly might actually provide some entertainment. Most aliens surrendered as soon as they saw a Cathara fleet approaching. It would be refreshing to face an enemy that knew how to fight back. I want to meet these humans, Zek said. When do we leave? Prepare your fleet, Commander, but approach carefully. If their world is truly as dangerous as our scout reported, they may be more formidable than our usual prey. The communication ended, leaving Zek alone with his thoughts. He walked to the window and looked out at his warriors loading the last of the stolen cargo. The Cathara Fourth Fleet consisted of 50 heavy warships, each one crewed by veterans who had never lost a battle. They had conquered hundreds of worlds and defeated every enemy they had ever faced, but Zek felt something he had not experienced in years: excitement, the possibility that somewhere in the galaxy there might be another species that could truly challenge the Cathara, a species that had also been forged in the fires of a hostile world. A species that might actually be worthy opponents. He thought about his own childhood on Vex Prime, the acid rain that could burn through metal, the predatory plants that could swallow a full-grown Cathara whole, the pack hunters that stalked the dark valleys between the mountain ranges. Every day had been a test of strength, speed, and cunning. Those who failed the test died. Those who passed became stronger. If this Earth was truly more dangerous than Vex Prime, what kind of creatures would it produce? Zek found himself hoping that these humans would be more than just another group of soft aliens hiding behind their technology. The galaxy needed more warriors, more predators who understood that only the strong deserved to inherit the stars. Lieutenant Ironhide, he called out. Yes, Commander, signal the fleet. We are departing for the Outer Rim. I want all ships ready for combat within the hour. Are we expecting trouble, sir? Zek looked out at the alien colony one last time. Soon, his warriors would meet these mysterious humans. They would learn if Earth had truly produced another race of Deathworld survivors, or if it was home too. Just another group of weaklings who would fall before Cathara might. I hope so, Lieutenant, Zek replied. I truly hope so. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the exploration vessel New Horizon, staring at the tactical display that showed 50 unknown ships approaching human space. The vessels were massive, each one larger than anything in the Earth Defense Force fleet. Their design was angular and aggressive, built for war rather than exploration. Sir, we're receiving a communication from Earth Command, reported Lieutenant Tony Garcia from the communications station. Put it through, Jake replied, straightening his uniform. The holographic image of Admiral Helen Brooks appeared on the main screen. Her face was serious, with the kind of expression that meant trouble was coming. Captain Morrison, you've been selected to lead the first contact mission with these alien visitors. Intelligence suggests they're from a warrior culture that has been conquering other systems. We need to determine their intentions regarding Earth. Jake felt his stomach tighten. First contact with an alien species was supposed to be humanity's greatest moment. Instead, it looked like they were about to meet their first galactic bullies. What are our orders, Admiral? Try diplomacy first. Dr. Lisa Park will be your lead negotiator. She's our best xenobiologist and has experience with cultural exchange protocols. Colonel Steve Martinez will provide security, but keep his Marines out of sight unless absolutely necessary. We don't want to appear threatening. The connection ended, leaving Jake to contemplate the impossible task ahead. How do you negotiate with aliens who might view humans as just another species to conquer? Dr. Lisa Park arrived on the bridge an hour later, carrying a datapad filled with everything humanity knew about alien psychology and communication. She was a small woman with dark hair and intense green eyes, but Jake knew her reputation. She had spent years studying the possibility of alien life and had written most of the protocols for first contact situations. What do we know about them? Lisa asked, looking at the tactical display. Not much, Jake admitted. They call themselves the Cathara. Our long-range scanner suggests they're physically larger than humans and their technology is more advanced than ours. Intelligence thinks they've been raiding other civilizations for resources. Colonel Steve Martinez entered the bridge, his camouflage uniform crisp and his expression grim. He was a veteran of Earth's colonial wars, a man who had seen combat on 3 different worlds. His presence made everyone feel safer, but Jake worried about what message it might send to the aliens. Dr. Park, I understand you want to approach this peacefully, Steve said, but these aliens have a reputation for violence. My Marines are ready if this goes bad. Lisa shook her head. Colonel, we need to show them that humans can be reasonable. If we meet them with weapons drawn, we'll just confirm whatever violent expectations they might have about us. And if they decide to start shooting, Steve asked, then we'll deal with that problem if it happens. But right now, our best chance is to convince them that Earth is worth more as an ally than as a conquest. 3 days later, both fleets met at Station Alpha, a neutral trading post on the edge of human space. The Cathara had agreed to the meeting location, which Lisa took as a good sign. If they just wanted to attack, they would not have bothered with diplomatic niceties. The Cathara delegation consisted of 5 individuals, each one massive by human standards. Their leader introduced himself as Commander Zek Thornspick, and his appearance was intimidating even through the communication screen. His gray skin was covered in scars, his eyes were yellow and predatory, and his teeth were clearly designed for tearing meat. I am Commander Zek Thornspick of the Cathara 4th Fleet. His voice was deep and rough, like gravel grinding together. You are the humans from the death world called Earth. Lisa stepped forward, trying to project confidence despite the aliens' intimidating presence. Yes, Commander. I am Dr. Lisa Park, representing the people of Earth. We come in peace, hoping to establish friendly relations with your people. Zek tilted his head, studying her with those yellow eyes. Friendly relations? This is not a concept the Cathara encounter often. Most species we meet either flee or surrender. You do neither. We're not most species, Jake said, stepping up beside Lisa. Humans prefer to talk before we fight, but we're capable of both. This seemed to interest Zek. You speak of fighting as if you have experience with it. Tell me, humans, what makes you think you could stand against the Cathara? Lisa and Jake exchanged glances. This was the crucial moment. They needed to establish that humans were not easy prey without appearing aggressive. Earth has taught us to be survivors, Lisa explained. Our world is not a gentle place. We have hurricanes that can destroy entire cities, earthquakes that split the ground open, volcanoes that bury whole regions in ash. We have deserts where the temperature can kill you in hours, Arctic regions where you freeze to death in minutes, and forests filled with predators. Zek leaned forward, his interest clearly growing. Your world sounds challenging. How do you survive these conditions? We adapt, Jake replied. We build stronger houses to withstand the storms. We develop technology to predict earthquakes and volcanic eruptions. We learn to live in every environment our planet offers, from the highest mountains to the deepest oceans. And when nature isn't trying to kill us, Steve added, despite Lisa's warning look, we've spent most of our history fighting each other. Humans have been at war for thousands of years. We've learned to fight with everything from sticks and stones to nuclear weapons. The Cathara delegation murmured among themselves in their own language. Zek held up a hand for silence, then focused on the humans again. You interest me, humans. Most species we encounter have lived soft lives on garden worlds. They have never faced real hardship. They use technology to shield themselves from danger rather than growing stronger through conflict. What about your people? Lisa asked. What is your homeworld like? Zek's expression became almost proud. Vex Prime is a world that tries to kill everything that lives on it. The gravity is crushing, the air burns, acid storms strip flesh from bone. Every creature that lives there is a predator, including us. We do not survive on Vex Prime, we dominate it. It sounds like our worlds have made us both strong in different ways, Lisa observed. Perhaps we could learn from each other. Learn from each other, Zek repeated the phrase slowly, as if testing how it sounded. The Cathara do not usually learn from other species. We conquer them. Maybe it's time to try something different, Jake suggested. The galaxy is a big place. There's room for more than one strong species. Zek was quiet for several minutes, studying the humans with those predatory eyes. Finally, he spoke again. You claim to be survivors, to be warriors, but words are easy to speak. On Vex Prime, we have a saying, the storm tests the tree, not the seed. If you truly believe humans are as strong as you claim, would you accept? A test? Lisa felt her heart rate increase. What kind of test? Come to our homeworld. Survive 7 days on Vex Prime. If you can do this, the Cathara will consider humans to be equals. If you cannot, then Earth will submit to our rule. Steve stepped forward immediately. That's not acceptable. We won't risk our people's lives on some alien death trap. But Lisa was thinking fast. This could be humanity's chance to avoid a war they probably could not win. If the Cathara truly respected strength, proving human toughness might be the only way to keep Earth safe. What exactly would this test involve? She asked. 7 days on the surface of Vex Prime with minimal equipment. You would face the same challenges our young warriors face when they prove themselves ready for adulthood. If you survive, you earn respect. If you fail, your species has shown it is not worthy of independence. Jake looked at Lisa with alarm. Dr. Park, this is insane. We don't know anything about their world. It could be a death sentence. Lisa met Zek's gaze directly. If we accept this challenge and if we succeed, what happens then? Then humans will be recognized as fellow Deathworlders. The Cathara will treat Earth as an ally rather than a target. But if you fail, your world belongs to us. The room was silent except for the humming of the space station's life support systems. Lisa knew that the decision she made in the next few minutes would determine the fate of her entire species. But looking at Zek's scarred face and predatory smile, she realized that refusing the challenge would probably just delay the inevitable. The Cathara would attack Earth eventually. At least this way, humanity had a chance to prove itself. I accept your challenge, Lisa said, ignoring Jake's sharp intake of breath. But I choose the human team that will face this test. Zek's smile widened, showing those sharp teeth. Excellent. Prepare your warriors, Dr. Park. In 3 days you will discover what it truly means to be a Deathworlder. The transport ship carrying the human team descended through the toxic atmosphere of Vex Prime, shaking violently as it fought against the crushing gravity and corrosive winds. Dr. Lisa Park gripped her safety harness and tried not to think about the fact that she had just volunteered 4 people to spend a week on what might be the most dangerous planet in the galaxy. Beside her sat Rick Thompson, a mountain climber who had conquered the highest peaks on 3 different worlds. His weathered face showed no fear, only the focused calm of someone who had spent his life facing deadly challenges. Next to him was Amanda Foster, a former Navy SEAL who had left military service to become an astronaut. Her small frame was packed with muscle and her eyes never stopped moving, constantly assessing potential threats. Dr. Kevin Wright, their geologist, was studying readings from his instruments with intense concentration. The data streaming across his screen showed atmospheric conditions that would kill most humans in minutes. Sitting across from him was Sarah Johnson, their medic, who was checking and rechecking their medical supplies. She had volunteered for the mission despite knowing that her skills might not be enough to save them if things went wrong. Landing in 60 seconds, announced the Cathara pilot. His voice sounded amused, as if he was enjoying the thought of watching the humans die horribly. Lisa looked out the small window and saw the surface of Vex Prime for the first time. The landscape was a nightmare of jagged rocks, bubbling acid, pools, and twisted metal structures that might have been plants or might have been machines. The sky was a sickly green color, filled with clouds that flickered with electrical storms. In the distance, she could see massive creatures moving across the wasteland, their forms barely visible through the toxic haze. Remember the plan, Amanda sighed quietly. We stick together, we watch each other's backs, and we prove that humans don't give up. The ship touched down with a bone-jarring impact. Through the speakers they could hear Commander Zek's voice. "Welcome to Vex Prime, humans. You have 7 days to survive. Your equipment has been placed outside the ship. Good luck. You will need it." The cargo door opened with a hiss, and immediately the ship's interior was filled with air that burned their lungs and made their eyes water. Even through their protective suits, they could feel the hostile environment trying to kill them. Their supplies were minimal, basic shelters that might protect them from the worst of the acid rain. Water purification tablets, emergency food rations, and medical kits. Everything else they would have to find or make themselves. "Air quality is barely breathable," Kevin reported, reading his instruments. "The oxygen content is low, the atmospheric pressure is 3 times Earth normal, and there are toxins in the air that will slowly poison us even through our filters." "How slowly?" Sarah asked. "We have maybe 4 days before the poisoning becomes serious. After that, we start dying." Rick was already studying the terrain around their landing site. "We need to find shelter and fresh water. Those caves in the cliff face might work, but we'll have to climb to reach them." As they gathered their equipment, the ground began to shake. Something large was moving toward them through the rocky landscape. Amanda grabbed her rifle and took cover behind a boulder. "Contact, 200 meters in closing." The creature that emerged from behind a ridge of twisted rock was unlike anything any of them had ever seen. It stood 15 feet tall on 6 insect-like legs, with a body covered in armor plates and a head that was mostly teeth. Acid dripped from its mouth, sizzling where it hit the ground. "It's hunting us," Amanda said, taking aim. "Wait," Lisa called out. "Let's see what it does. We need to understand the wildlife before we start fighting it." The creature approached slowly, its multiple eyes fixed on the humans. When it was 50 feet away, it stopped and let out a sound like metal scraping against stone. 2 more creatures appeared from different directions, moving to surround the human team. "They hunt in packs," Rick observed. "Smart predators." The lead creature charged, moving faster than something that size should have been able to move. Amanda's rifle cracked 3 times, her shots hitting the creature's head and slowing it down but not stopping it. Kevin threw a rock at one of the flanking creatures, causing it to stumble and giving them a few precious seconds. "Run for the caves!" Lisa shouted. They sprinted across the broken terrain, their heavy packs bouncing as they fought against the crushing gravity. The creatures pursued them with mechanical persistence, their acid spit sizzling past their heads. Rick reached the cliff face first and began climbing, his fingers finding holds in the rock despite the acidic moisture that covered everything. Amanda provided covering fire while the others climbed, her military training keeping her calm even. As the creatures closed in, Sarah was struggling with the climb, her muscles cramping from the heavy gravity. But Kevin boosted her up while Lisa helped pull her to safety. The caves were shallow, but they provided protection from the acid rain that began falling as soon as they found shelter. The creatures prowled outside for several hours before finally giving up and moving on to hunt easier prey. "Day 1, Lisa said, checking her watch. 6 days to go." The next morning brought new challenges. Their water was running low, and the purification tablets could only do so much against the toxic groundwater they had found. Sarah was showing early signs of atmospheric poisoning, with a persistent cough and headaches that were getting worse. "We need to go deeper into the cave system," Kevin said, studying his geological readings. "There might be underground water sources that are less contaminated." They spent the second day exploring the caves, using flashlights to navigate through passages that had been carved by centuries of acid rain. The air was slightly better underground, but they discovered that the caves were home to other creatures. Small, spider-like things that moved in swarms and seemed to be attracted to their body heat. Rick used his climbing rope to set up simple traps that kept most of the cave dwellers away from their sleeping area. Amanda established a watch schedule and taught the others how to move quietly through the tunnels. Kevin found several pools of water that were cleaner than anything on the surface, and Sarah managed to create a makeshift air filter using materials from their equipment and cave. Moss that seemed to absorb some of the atmospheric toxins. By the third day, they had established a routine. They knew which areas of the caves were safe and which ones to avoid. They had found food in the form of fungus that grew on the cave walls, which Sarah tested and declared edible if not tasty. They had learned to recognize the sounds that meant predators were nearby and how to avoid them, but the environment was taking its toll. All of them were losing weight from the combination of low food intake and high energy expenditure required to move in the heavy gravity. Their protective suits were beginning to break down from exposure to the acidic atmosphere. Sarah's cough was getting worse, and Kevin had developed a rash from contact with contaminated water on the fourth day. They faced their greatest challenge yet. A pack of the large predators had found their cave system and was systematically hunting through the tunnels. Unlike the first creatures they had encountered, these ones were smaller but more intelligent. They used tools, crude weapons made from sharpened rock and metal, and they could communicate with each other using complex sound patterns. "They're not just animals," Amanda observed as they listened to the hunting calls echoing through the caves. "They're sentient. They're planning their attack." The humans had to use every skill they possessed to survive the next 18 hours. Rick used his knowledge of cave systems to find passages too narrow for the larger predators. Amanda set up ambush points where her rifle would be most effective. Kevin used his understanding of geology to predict which tunnels would be stable, and which ones might collapse if disturbed. Sarah kept them all functional with stimulants and painkillers from their medical supplies. The battle was fought in darkness, with brief flashes of gunfire illuminating snarling alien faces and gleaming weapons. The humans moved constantly, never staying in one place long enough for the pack to surround them. They used the cave's geography against their enemies, leading them into dead ends and unstable areas. When the sun rose on the fifth day, the surviving predators had given up the hunt and moved on. The humans emerged from the caves exhausted but alive. Their respect for each other and their own capabilities greatly increased. 2 more days, Lisa said, looking out at the hostile landscape of Vex Prime. "We can do this." Rick was already planning their next shelter. Amanda was counting their remaining ammunition. Kevin was checking his instruments for signs of incoming weather, and Sarah was treating their various injuries with supplies that were running dangerously low. They had learned something important during their time on Vex Prime. They were tougher than they had thought. The planet was trying to kill them in dozens of different ways, but they were still alive, still fighting, still adapting to whatever challenge came next. And somewhere up in orbit, the Cathara were watching and beginning to understand that humans might be more interesting than they had expected. Commander Zek Thornspick stood in the observation room of his flagship, watching the video feeds from Vex Prime with growing amazement. The human team had just finished their 6th day on his homeworld, and they were not only alive, but actually thriving in conditions that would have killed most galactic species within hours. "This is impossible," muttered Lieutenant Vex Ironhide, standing beside his commander. "Look at them. They are building tools from cave materials. They are hunting the acid slugs for food. The small female with the medical supplies has created some kind of air filter that actually works." Zek nodded slowly, his yellow eyes fixed on the screen showing Dr. Lisa Park as she examined samples of native plants. She had somehow figured out which ones were edible and which ones were poisonous, despite having no previous knowledge of Vex Prime biology. Her team was not just surviving, they were adapting and learning. "The male with the climbing equipment has mapped half the cave system in 6 days, Zek observed. "Rick Thompson. He moves through our terrain like he was born on this world. And the warrior female, Amanda Foster. Watch how she hunts the tunnel crawlers. She uses their own behavior against them." On another screen, they could see Kevin Wright, the geologist who had discovered an underground water source that even the Cathara had not known existed. He was currently showing Sarah Johnson, the medic, how the mineral content of the water could be used to treat their atmospheric poisoning symptoms. "Sir," called out Communications Officer Grax Steelclaw from across the room, "the human ship in orbit is requesting permission to speak with you." "Put them through," Zek replied. Curious about what the humans wanted to say, Captain Jake Morrison's face appeared on the main communication screen. His expression was tense with worry, but there was also something else there. Pride, perhaps. Or determination. Commander Thornspick, I want to know how my people are doing down there. They are alive, Captain Morrison, more than alive. They are succeeding in ways that I did not think possible for any species other than our own. Jake's tension seemed to ease slightly. They're tough people, Commander. Earth produces survivors. Yes, Zek said thoughtfully. I am beginning to understand this. Tell me, Captain, how did your species become so resilient? Your world must be even more challenging than our initial reports suggested. Jake was quiet for a moment, then began to speak. In a way that reminded Zek of how Cathara warriors talked about their own homeworld. Earth doesn't just try to kill you, Commander. It tests you in every way possible. We have ice ages that last thousands of years. We have volcanic eruptions that block out the sun. We have storms that can level entire forests and earthquakes that split mountains in half. This sounds familiar, Zek replied. Continue. But it's not just the natural disasters. Earth has produced predators that would give your people a challenge. We evolved alongside creatures that were bigger, stronger, and faster than us. We survived by being smarter, more persistent, and more willing to work together than anything else on our planet. Zek felt a strange sensation, something he had not experienced in decades, respect for another species. Your people are persistence hunters, are they not? You track prey over long distances until it becomes exhausted. That's right. Humans can run longer than almost any other creature on Earth. We don't give up. When something knocks us down, we get back up and keep going. That's what your people are seeing down on Vex Prime right now. The communication ended, leaving Zek to contemplate what he had learned. He walked to another viewing station where his science officers were analyzing the human performance data. What have you discovered? He asked. Chief Science Officer Drac Bonecrusher looked up from his readings with obvious excitement. Commander, these humans are remarkable. Their bodies are not as strong as ours, but they adapt faster than any species we have ever encountered. Watch this. The screen showed footage from the humans. Third day on Vex Prime, Sarah Johnson was treating Kevin. Wright's acid burns using a paste she had made from cave minerals and plant extracts. The treatment actually worked, something that should have been impossible without years of research into Vex Prime biochemistry. How did she know to do that? Zek asked. She didn't. She experimented. She tested different combinations on small wounds first, observed the results, and refined her technique. In 3 days, she developed medical treatments that took our own healers decades to perfect. Another screen showed Rick Thompson teaching the others how to move efficiently in the heavy gravity by changing their walking style and using handholds that the Cathara had never considered. Amanda Foster was demonstrating how to predict predator behavior by watching for environmental signs that warned of their approach. They are not just surviving, Drac continued. They are innovating. They are finding solutions to problems that we solve through pure physical strength. They are making our world work for them instead of against them. Zek turned to look at the final day's footage. The human team was preparing for their last night on Vex Prime, and they looked nothing like the group that had landed a week ago. They were thinner, their clothes were torn and stained, and they all showed signs of the punishment the planet had inflicted on them. But there was something in their eyes that reminded Zek of his own warriors after they had completed their first survival trial. They had been tested by Vex Prime and had not been found wanting. Sir, Lieutenant Ironhide called out, the humans are requesting pickup. Their 7 days are complete. Send a transport, Zek ordered, and prepare the main conference room. I want to speak with them properly. 2 hours later, the human team stood in the conference room aboard Zek's flagship. They were cleaned up and wearing fresh clothes, but the marks of their ordeal were still visible. Rick Thompson's hands were scarred from climbing on acidic rocks. Amanda Foster moved with the careful precision of someone whose muscles had been pushed beyond their limits. Kevin Wright's face was sunburned from exposure to Vex Prime's harsh radiation, and Sarah Johnson's voice was hoarse from breathing toxic air for a week, But Dr. Lisa Park stood straight and looked Zek directly in the eyes with the confidence of someone who had faced the worst the universe could offer and had survived it. "Dr. Park," Zek said formally, "you and your team have completed the trial. You have survived 7 days on Vex Prime. This is an achievement that even some of our own young warriors fail to accomplish. Thank you, Commander. Your world certainly tested us, but we're still here." Zek gestured for them to sit at the conference table. "I must admit, I expected you to fail. Most species we encounter are weak, soft creatures who depend on technology to protect them from danger." "You are clearly not most species." "No, we're not," Lisa agreed. "But I don't think you're like most species either. The more I learned about Vex Prime, the more I realized that your people have faced challenges that would destroy entire civilizations. You've not only survived, you've become stronger." "This is true. But tell me, Dr. Park, what else did you learn during your time on our world?" Lisa exchanged glances with her teammates before answering. "I learned that humans and Cathara might have more in common than either of us expected. We both come from worlds that tried to kill us. We both became strong because we had to. We both understand that the universe is a dangerous place that doesn't care about the weak." "Yes," Zek said slowly. "But there is a difference between us. The Cathara have used our strength to conquer and rule over weaker species. What would humans do with such strength?" This was the question Lisa had been dreading, because she knew that her answer would determine the future relationship between their species. "Commander, I won't lie to you. Humans have fought terrible wars among ourselves. We've done things we're not proud of. But we've also learned that strength without wisdom leads to destruction. We've learned that the strongest civilizations are built on cooperation, not conquest," Rick Thompson spoke up. "Your world made us stronger, Commander. But it also made us appreciate how much we depend on each other. None of us would have survived alone. We succeeded because we worked together." "Amanda," Foster nodded. "In my military experience, the strongest forces are not the ones with the most powerful weapons. They're the ones where every soldier trusts the others to have their back." Zek was quiet for several minutes, considering their words. Finally, he spoke. "The Cathara have ruled through fear for centuries. We have told ourselves that this is the natural order, that the strong should dominate the weak. But watching your team survive on Vex Prime has made me question this belief." "What do you mean?" Lisa asked. "You did not survive by dominating our world. You survived by adapting to it, by learning from it, by working with it instead of against it. This suggests that there might be other ways to be strong besides conquest and domination." Sarah Johnson, who had been quiet until now, finally spoke. "Commander, your people are incredibly tough and brave. But from what I've seen, you're also intelligent and capable of change. Maybe it's time to try something new." Zek looked around the table at the 5 humans who had proven themselves worthy of respect. "Perhaps it is time for change. But change is difficult for a people who have followed the same path for centuries. We would need to see that there are benefits to this new way of thinking." "Then let us show you." 3 weeks had passed since the human team returned from Vex Prime, when the emergency alarms began screaming throughout both the human and Cathara fleets. Captain Jake Morrison rushed to the bridge of the New Horizon to find his crew staring at sensor readings that made no sense. "Captain, we're detecting massive energy signatures approaching from deep space," reported Lieutenant Tony Garcia. "Whatever's coming, it's bigger than anything we've ever seen." "On the main screen, Commander." Zek Thornspick's scarred face appeared, his expression grim. "Captain Morrison, our long-range sensors have detected the same phenomenon. A fleet of unknown vessels is approaching this system. Their technology appears to be far more advanced than either of our civilizations." Jake felt his stomach drop. Just when humans and Cathara were beginning to understand each other, a new threat had arrived. "Any idea who they are or what they want?" "Negative. But their approach vector suggests they are targeting both Earth and Vex Prime simultaneously. This cannot be a coincidence." Dr. Lisa Park entered the bridge, having been called from her quarters where she had been writing her report on the cultural exchange with the Cathara. What's happening, Jake? Unknown aliens, possibly hostile, heading straight for both our worlds? Jake replied grimly. The answer to their questions came an hour later when the alien fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the solar system. The ships were sleek and silver, their design suggesting a civilization that valued efficiency over intimidation. When they finally responded to communication attempts, their message was delivered in perfect Earth Standard and Cathara battle language simultaneously. Greetings, primitive species. We are the Hegemony Collective, representatives of the Advanced Civilization Alliance. We have come to your systems to eliminate the threat you pose to galactic stability. The speaker appeared on screen as a tall, thin creature with pale blue skin and large black eyes. Its voice was emotionless, like a computer reading data. Our analysis indicates that both the human and Cathara species originate from what you call Deathworlds. Such species have historically proven to be violent, unpredictable, and dangerous to peaceful galactic civilizations. Jake exchanged alarmed glances with his crew. This is Captain Jake Morrison of the Earth Defense Force. We haven't threatened anyone. We're just trying to establish peaceful contact with our neighbors. Your intentions are irrelevant, the alien replied. Statistical analysis of Deathworld species shows a 97% probability of future aggressive expansion. The Cathara have already demonstrated this pattern by conquering numerous systems. Humans show similar potential based on your planetary history of warfare. Commander Zek's voice cut across the communication channel. You dare threaten the Cathara? We have faced every challenge the galaxy has thrown at us. You will find us more difficult to eliminate than you expect. Your confidence is misplaced, the Hegemony representative said calmly. We have spent centuries developing weapons specifically designed to neutralize Deathworld species. Your enhanced physical capabilities and survival instincts will not protect you from biological agents that target the genetic markers that make you so resilient. Lisa stepped forward, her mind racing. You're talking about genocide. The deliberate extinction of entire species based on nothing more than statistical predictions. We prefer the term preemptive sterilization. It is a necessary action to preserve galactic peace and stability. You have 24 hours to evacuate any non-military personnel from your worlds before we begin the cleansing process. The communication ended, leaving both fleets staring at an enemy that seemed to view the complete destruction of their civilizations as a routine maintenance task. They're insane, Amanda Foster said, having joined the bridge crew. They want to commit genocide because they think we might become aggressive in the future. Not insane, Lisa corrected grimly. Coldly logical from their perspective. They've probably done this before to other species they considered threatening. Zek's image reappeared on the screen. Captain Morrison, Dr. Park, it seems our species face a common enemy. I propose we combine our fleets and show these hegemony aliens what Deathworlders can do when they work together. Jake looked at his tactical officer. What are our chances against their fleet? Not good, sir. They outnumber us 3-1, and their technology is clearly superior to ours. But if we coordinate with the Cathara forces, we might be able to even the odds. The Cathara accept this alliance, Zek declared. Our warriors are eager to fight alongside humans who have proven themselves on Vex Prime. Over the next 18 hours, the combined human and Cathara fleets prepared for the most important battle in either species' history. The two civilizations worked together with surprising efficiency, their different approaches to warfare complementing each other perfectly. The humans contributed their advanced tactical computers and long-range missile systems. Their strategy focused on coordination and precision strikes, using their ship's mobility to hit the enemy from multiple angles simultaneously. Captain Jake Morrison took overall command of the human fleet, with Amanda Foster serving as his tactical advisor. The Cathara brought their massive warships and aggressive combat doctrine. Their vessels were built like fortresses, designed to charge directly into enemy formations and fight at close range where their superior armor and firepower would be most effective. Commander Zek Thornspick led the Cathara forces with the same brutal efficiency he had shown in countless previous battles. Dr. Lisa Park and the Cathara science officers worked together to analyze the enemy's biological weapons, trying to find countermeasures that might protect both species from the threatened sterilization attack. Their combined knowledge of Deathworld biology proved crucial in developing defensive strategies. When the hegemony fleet arrived to begin their cleansing operation, they found something they had not expected. Instead of two separate forces, fighting desperately for survival, they faced a unified command structure that combined the best elements of both civilizations. The battle began with the hegemony ships launching their biological weapons toward Earth and Vex Prime, confident that the primitive Deathworlders would be too busy fighting each other to mount an effective defense. Instead, they watched in shock as coordinated defensive fire from both fleets intercepted and destroyed the weapon platforms before they could reach their targets. "Impossible," transmitted the hegemony commander. "Our intelligence indicated that Deathworld species are incapable of meaningful cooperation. Your alliance violates all statistical models." "Maybe your models are wrong," Jake replied as his fleet launched a coordinated missile barrage that overwhelmed the enemy's defensive systems. "You assumed we'd fight each other instead of working together. Bad assumption." The Cathara warships charged into the enemy formation with Zek Thornspick's flagship leading the assault. Their heavy armor allowed them to absorb punishment that would have destroyed lighter vessels, while their massive weapons carved through hegemony shields like they were made of paper. Meanwhile, the human ships used their superior maneuverability to attack from unexpected angles, their tactical computers predicting enemy movements and positioning them for maximum effectiveness. Rick Thompson, now serving as a military advisor, helped develop new attack patterns that took advantage of both species' strengths. The battle raged for 6 hours, with both sides taking heavy casualties. But gradually it became clear that the hegemony had made a critical error in their calculations. They had planned to fight two separate primitive forces. Instead, they faced a combined fleet that was greater than the sum of its parts. The turning point came when Sarah Johnson, working with Cathara medical officers, discovered that the hegemony's biological weapons could be turned against their creators. The same genetic targeting systems that were designed to kill Deathworlders could be reprogrammed to affect the hegemony's own biology. "Their weapons are too precise," Sarah explained over the communication channel. "They're designed to target specific genetic markers, but that specificity makes them vulnerable. If we can reverse the targeting parameters, the counterattack worked better than anyone had hoped." The hegemony ships, caught completely off guard by their own weapons being used against them, began withdrawing from the battle. Their commander's final transmission was filled with something that sounded almost like respect. "You have exceeded all projections, Deathworlders. Our statistical models will require significant revision. The hegemony collective withdraws, but we will be monitoring your alliance with great interest." As the enemy fleet disappeared into hyperspace, both human and Cathara crews celebrated their victory. But the real celebration came later, when representatives from both species met to formalize their new alliance. "Today we proved that Deathworlders are stronger together than apart," Lisa Park announced to the assembled delegates. "The hegemony thought they could eliminate us because we were too primitive and violent to work together. They were wrong." Commander Zek Thornspick stood beside her, his scarred face showing something that might have been a smile. "The galaxy has underestimated Deathworld species for too long. Today that changes. Humans and Cathara will stand together, and any who threaten us will learn what real strength looks like."